pull-out. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball, deep center field. It is gone! Home run! And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Flippin Bats. Today is going to be so much fun. I am joined by hopefully future Hall of Famer, but 6-time All-Star MVP award winner Joey Votto is about to join me in just a second. One of the best first basemen that we have seen on the field, but he is a legend off of the field as well. Really funny on social media now, but a really, really good and interesting person as well. So I'm really excited for you all to hear this interview. We're going to really dive into, one, why he got onto social media this year, but really into his approach to the game of baseball, the mental side of things, his approach at the plate. I am so excited for this one. I'm excited for you all to hear it. He is truly one of the interesting humans on the planet, but one of the most interesting guys in baseball for sure. So I know you all are going to enjoy it. So let's get to him now. Reds first baseman, Joey Votto. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to get started with the good stuff here. Like I said, I truly believe you're a Hall of Famer, one of the best first basemen to ever do it. But this year, in your 16th year in the big leagues, you have become one of the best social media guys of all time as well, which has been remarkable to see. What this year made you say, hey, I'm going to get on TikTok, I'm going to get on Twitter, Instagram, everything. I'm just going for
it? Kind of probably just FOMO, just fear of missing out. You only have a small window of access to so many different people and being able to connect with fans. I think just feeling like everybody else is having fun, and I didn't get to. So I've been dabbling with it. It's tough though. It's tough because I have to perform, and so being distracted with that sort of stuff is what I'm most concerned about. But I've found little windows.
Does it get tricky because when you do a TikTok or something, you're also performing on the field? Your team wins. I feel like every time you make a TikTok, you hit a home run that night. So it kind of becomes this tricky situation of, wait, I want to perform on the field, but also when I do this, it correlates to the field.
That's, I try to time them based on the matchup if I think we've got a shot. No, I don't know. I've had some fun with it. And then at other times, the thing that I most worry about is the audience. I never want to offend. I don't want to lose sleep over the idea of, one of my younger fans or a family gathering together, sharing the TikTok, and there's a gun sound or there's inappropriate language or anything inappropriate in general. Like my rule of thumb is, if there's any doubt at all, you're not posting it. Mm-hmm. If I have to ask somebody else, is this okay, then don't post it. Yeah. And so, I've nixed so many things that are probably in line with my behind the scenes humor, but for the general audience, it's not appropriate. So that's the thing that stands out to me most about using social, making sure that it's in line with the people that are following, and make sure that it's respectful. So
yeah, well, in my mind, it also gives us a glimpse of more who you are, and it's been really cool to see that and the person you are as well. So for you, I want to go back a little bit to the beginning for you. You're from Canada. Obviously, hockey is a massive sport there. So how did you go about getting into baseball originally over when most of your friends are probably choosing hockey?
Hockey is an expensive sport, and it's a great time commitment. I mean, it's a be there for 5 a.m. skates, traveling, and it just didn't. I think my parents could sense that I wasn't passionate at all about it. I played a ton of road hockey. I probably played more road hockey and basketball, and pickup football than baseball, and I don't even think it's close. But road hockey, I'd play almost every single day after school. We had a little tennis court down in our neighborhood. And during the winter season, the nets would be down, so we'd play virtually every day, and then we play on the weekend. We play for like 7-8 hours. We play all day. I would play goaltender, and I actually think that's part of the reason why I've been okay with the glove in my career. But as far as strapping on ice skates and playing in a league, it just didn't match up. Most NHL prospects are identifiable before they're like 15.
Really?
And oh my goodness, like if you're not on a legit team if you're not like a legit recognizable player by the time you're like 12, 14, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I'm pretty confident that everybody I've spoken to is like, if you're before 16, they pretty much know if you're going to be an AHL prospect. So I would have started too late as it is.
So then you end up, obviously you choose baseball, you're really good at it, and you end up getting drafted in the second round at 18 years old. When you look back on that day as a young kid, not even really an adult yet, what's a memory that sticks out to you from your draft day?
So on that day, I remember going to school and bringing, cell phones now are so commonplace on everyone's hip, but I brought a cell phone to school, my parents' cell phone. And I remember answering calls at school for the draft. I remember it being the first day I felt like cool at school. Like I remember like really being under the radar almost my entire high school experience. Never in the cool group, never social. I didn't go out to the weekend parties. I didn't get invited to them. I was like, I was quiet. I was back at the classroom. I didn't say very much. I didn't date in high school. And so like most of my time was like playing in the basketball group, lifting with some friends, and then going and doing baseball after school every single day. And I did that over and over and over for years. And I remember having this phone on me and getting drafted, and then, more or less like starting my, the next step, and the buzz, like inside of the school. There was a few people that I previously thought, didn't even know I existed. Yeah. And they were cool, recognized what was going on, and everything seemed to like feel different. And it was like that one little cool stretch in my high school experience. So
that's so cool, because I never had one. I was not cool in high school. No parties, no nothing, and it was just baseball. So
that's how it is for most committed. Whether it's athletes or people that are doing, who knows, and so many different things, acting, doing, working in a family business. So that's just the nature of it, the commitment.
So just a few years later, about 5 years later, you end up making your debut for the Reds. 2007, you make your debut. And I love asking guys about this because, I got to the point in my career where it was close, but never got that call. And was a career minor leaguer, played there for 5 years, never got the call. So I love asking guys that did get it. What was that moment like? The moment you were called in and you were told you're going to be a big leaguer?
I'm sorry that you didn't get the call. That's a bummer. I was in a car last night heading back to the hotel from the ballpark, and we were talking about, he was a professional player, if I'm not mistaken, and he didn't have that experience. Oh no, sorry, his brother was a 12-year minor league player, and he never had the major league experience. And how it's unfortunate for some that give so much of their life and to come up short of the big goal. And so it bums me out in a way. I understand it's a business. I understand it's competition, but to set your target on something and to come up short must be heartbreaking. For me, I remember my minor league experience was pretty frustrating, if I'm honest with you. You know, at 19 years old, they started a take a strike rule. So from A ball down, so high, low A, high rookie, low rookie.
Is this your organization in itself?
Yeah, organizational policy where you had to take the first strike of every at bat.
Okay.
And that meant facing Justin Verlander in the Florida State League down 0-1 automatically. He'd pipe a regular fastball, and then came the filthiness. And I remember almost all of my teammates performed poorly. Like, there was no good offensive performers at the Florida State League level. There was very few good performers at the Dayton level, the low A level. And I remember feeling held back. And I was one of the few that was fortunate that got the green light, which was you're allowed to swing. They would allow 2 guys per lineup to swing.
This is ridiculous.
And so every now and then they would say, you have the green light and you have the green light. And I think I got the green light probably as much as anybody, if not more than anybody on the team. And so here and there you get the green light. Other than that, you're standing there taking pitches. So, you know, I wasn't viewed as a prospect. I wasn't viewed as a future major league hitter. And people didn't understand how difficult they were at. This was for a young hitter. And so I got to AA, and I won the most valuable player there. I was top 5 in stolen bases. I was top 1 or 2 in every single offensive category because I didn't have to take a strike anymore. And I remember thinking when I was there, like, I was 22 years old, why am I not getting called up? And I was furious. Because I was like, you held me back last year. I'm a good base runner. Offensively, I belong. And here you are holding me back. And then they had me repeat again. They had me go to AAA and play a full season there. And so I played the entire minor league season. And on the very last day of the AAA season, they called me up. And I was in a foul mood the entire time. Like, I didn't feel joy. I felt resentment. I felt anger. And I felt like, I'm going to make you pay when it comes to contracts. I will make you pay. I will never forget this. And, part of being competitive is being petty. And I couldn't have been more petty. Every single one of my contracts, that was absolutely a thought. You know, you guys held me back. All right, wait till you see how much you're going to pay me, sort of thing. And I timed my most valuable player right before arbitration. Couldn't have been better. I performed well the year after, and then I ended up signing a longer deal. But it's like that Michael Jordan quote where he's like, and I took that personal, but yeah, no, I didn't feel satisfied when I got called up. I wanted to get up to the league. I looked at my favorite players, all Hall of Fame players, and they were up in the league at 21, 22, younger, even 19, 20. And I wasn't 19, 20 guy just because I wasn't a good defensive player and I needed some seasoning. And by the time I was like 21, 22, I was absolutely ready. I mean, if you look at my early career defensive numbers, they were excellent the second I made it to league. Yeah. So clearly like I was a good defensive player in the minor leagues when I was in the back end of my minor league time. So I was in a foul mood about it. And I don't remember it going away until I'm still in a foul mood about it.
So
I see all these young players get called up, and good. I'm so happy for them, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got to play till I'm, 45 to make up for those 20 through 24 year old years.
So I want to talk to you about this a little bit, because that can be a struggle mentally. And I like talking to guys about this because a lot of people don't often realize how mental the game of baseball truly is. I mean, it can be a grind. It can wear on you. And I struggled with that sort of stuff in the minor leagues. I would go 0 for 4, which turned into an 0 for 8, into an 0 for 12 because I'm frustrated mentally that I have to take a strike if it's the 9th inning, we're down a run. How
Oh
did
yeah.
you manage that mentally? Like you harnessed your frustration, but turned it into becoming a better and better and better ball player, as opposed to the opposite, which is it can bog you down and it can ruin a career, honestly. How did you handle that mentally in the mental side of the game?
If you're asking about, generally speaking, how I handle the mental side of the game or that particular
No, I guess
experience,
meant like
that
currently, like how do you now handle the mental side of the game? How do you handle failure?
not well. A lot of nights, all nights, with the lights out, in bed, just staring at the ceiling. How am I going to do this? I better do this. What, just a lot of like, I've been trying to spend a bit more time um, meditating, but also just practicing mindfulness at random times in the day. And so, like in the past, I would ruminate. I would just like endlessly ruminate, just like cycles of rumination. And what I think I'm realizing now, maybe not realization, but when I get in those like cycles of rumination, I just try to bring presence to the feeling.
Mhm.
And I try to stop that cycle and just bring presence to the feeling. And the feeling is like feeling out of control, feeling like I'm powerless, feeling like I don't, I want something, coveting something. And I think there's that needs to stop at some point. And so I've been trying lately to just sit in that really, really uncomfortable feeling that can happen often. I mean, I'm not used to hitting 220. My job is important to me. Performing well is important to me. I want to be in charge of how long I'm going to play. And I don't want somebody to say, you're not good enough anymore.
Right.
We're going to have to move on from you. I don't want that. I want to be able to say that's enough. And so, another thing too, I don't know how much all that rumination and all that stuff helps, but almost all of my career, to answer your question, almost all of my career, I just played with, you ask about the mental side, I just played with like anger and rage.
You did.
Yeah, for a good percentage of my career, especially I was angry before. I was angry because of the minor league thing for a long time, and
That
then
helped
after
you
my
for a
father,
while.
yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. So I was angry at that for a while, and then after my father died for a long time, I was pretty angry. So for about a 10-year stretch, I played with a lot of rage, and it's unhealthy. It burns you out,
Yeah.
and I experienced burnout. And at some point, I need to go. I need to play with love, with passion, with joy. I look forward to going to the ballpark. So I have to find that like streamlined version of like not being too light on the passion and joy, like the softness, that feeling of like, with like also that a little bit of that determination and competitiveness. It's a real sweet spot of, it's almost like when you're doing anything, shooting a basket, golfing, hitting, you want to be kind of easy at the plate, but you can't be too easy. And you want to be like, cocked and ready at the plate, but you can't be too. So you have to find that sweet spot
Right.
that works for you. And I'm working on that.
Do you think that's part of the reason why social media came into play this year? You're trying to find that line of just enjoying things a little bit and also playing with an anger on the field?
Like I said, I don't play with anger anymore. But um, I think because last year I thought I felt like last year I figured out hitting for me, and it's not true. It's elusive. But last year I performed so well and so easily that I was like, all right, now you can have some fun on the side because
Yeah.
baseball be easy. But what I realized was like, almost all of my success came off the fastball, and I don't get as many as many middle cut fastballs as I used to, more breaking balls. So I had to make some small adjustments in my hitting style. And that came 2-3 months late. I'm only now realizing that, you're not going to just get split the plate fastballs just because everyone's excited about their spin and excited about how hard they throw. It feels like a an old style, at least against me.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do when that anger comes back? You say you don't play with anger anymore, but if you're 0 for 3 at the plate, does it creep back in and you start playing with an anger and you need to manage that, or do you embrace it, or how do you handle that?
I think that, so I feel like technique trumps everything, technique and talent. And so I lean into that whenever I start getting feeling like I'm not in control, like I should, dissatisfaction. I just remind myself, well, you're emotionally not going to get out of this. You're going to solve this with proper technique and execution. Concentrate on that. So that's where my head's at.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about, you mentioned technique. Your approach is something, and I'll tell you this, when I was in the minor leagues, I struggled. You go from college facing, upper 80s to 90. Nobody has a slider. They have curveball. And next thing you know, you're facing 92-mile-an-hour sliders. And you're like, what am I seeing right now? So I really had to change and figure out a new approach at the plate. And I studied you endlessly, tirelessly at night, because your approach, you 4 times in your career have walked more than you've struck out, which is remarkable. And I couldn't figure it out at the plate. I got a little bit better. But when you think about your approach, how would you explain it to somebody?
I'll answer. I'll reply to what you said in kind of a roundabout way. So when I was in the minor leagues, all my favorite hitters did that, and I obsessed about it. The walk strikeouts thing, obsessed about it, and I couldn't ever seem to get over the hump on the strikeout walk thing. I always had more strikeouts than walks, but I dedicated myself to it, and eventually I ended up flipping them. And it helps when you're a power hitter and they feel threatened, or if you're a dangerous hitter in a spot where they feel like they can give up runs. So it might get pitched around. I've had lots of different approaches, different stuff. There was a stretch of time where all I was thinking about was hitting the ball to left field. I was like pretty obsessed about that. I never wanted to pull the ball. And then other times where all I thought about was getting deep into counts. And then other times where I was like, I will never strike out. And then other times where all I want to do is hit homers. And I think that it's all about like what the current pitching culture allows. If you're facing, I'm a left-handed hitter, and the strike zone used to be a little wider for a left-handed hitter. So if they were calling pitches off the plate away and they felt like they could steal strikes there, I'm not going to just get around the ball to hook it and pull it to right field. That's not a style that works for me. And I also think that that's a style that's not really repeatable. I would try to hit the ball to left, stay inside the ball, be able to handle down and away changeups and left-handed sliders, and down and away fastballs from left-handers, and then sinking fastballs from right-handers. You'd get like, fooled on that inside fastball, but if you figure out a way to kind of block that and foul it off, you can handle most of the rest of the strike zone. So yeah, no, I different styles in my entire career. It's always changed based on what the current, it's funny. I think Gallardo from the Brewers had a style that's very similar to today's style. He had like a straight spinny fastball and like a slider, and he was like 90, 93. And I remember, maybe now have been too spinny, but like I remember it being straight, and I remember always having a hard time hitting it. I hated facing him. And it's funny now, like most pitchers pitch like him, and I've had to make changes to my style to be able to match the entire league. So I'd faced some of the right-handers that had real sink, and I'd handle them fine, trying to drive the ball the other way. And then I'd face him, and I always felt kind of blocked. Like I couldn't get the bat out there. Like I can't beat the ball to a spot. It's asking you to pull the ball, but my style doesn't match that, and so, yeah.
Well, I didn't even think about this when I was preparing to talk to you, but literally as we were discussing hitting, it came to my mind. I have watched you for hours. I would go home. I was 0 for 4 because, of course, I was 0 for 4. I'd go home. I'd sit in my bed. I'd be angry at myself, and I would watch film after film after film of you and your approach. So cool to be able to talk to you about that. I also want to talk about your bats, Because this is interesting.
I'll say one thing. That's common for most hitters. I did that like crazy too. I watched Helton, I watched Bonds every single night, and now I'll watch hitters. The same thing. I'll watch the fellow from Houston, Jordan.
Yeah.
I'll watch Betts or Trout, especially when I'm not going well. I'll make sure I watch hitters as a reminder of what the good hitters are doing right now. I'll watch Goldschmidt. What does a hot streak look like? Because we all want to be hot. Right. We all want to perform well. Hot streak. Okay, what does it look like? Okay, they're always on time for the fastball. They hit the ball through the middle of the field. They get their A swings off a lot. They swing and miss on occasion, but then they'll time a mistake breaking ball or a mistake split changeup thing. So like I'll watch them just as reminders. So that's not. I do it now. There's not a lot of old hitters that I would watch because, the style of pitching is different now. Mm-hmm. So it's best to watch the modern day guys. So yeah, I've always kind of been that way. I used to watch Manny. I watched, who I watch a lot right now. Yeah. I'll just go back into 15, 16 on our bats program, which is the video hub that we share. Mm-hmm. I'll watch old David Ortiz at bats. Wow. I want to know. Yeah. I'll watch just the bat. It's so important to me to watch the bat from 0-0 all the way to the result, because it tells me, the watching the bats tells me everything I need to know about what he's trying to do, how he reacts to particular pitches. And then I need to watch the entire game to get a feel for, okay, he was feeling kind of off that day, or he kind of got lucky that day with a particular result. So the box score is a little deceptive. So, I'll go home and just watch those, especially when I'm not doing well. And I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like my swing's locked in now, so I don't really need to. But when I'm going not so good, I use that as inspiration. So that's common.
I always remember talking to Miguel Cabrera when I was, my brother's 9 years older than me. So I've gotten to be around him a good bit. And then I was playing in college and really would like to pick his brain if I was in the clubhouse, and then played professionally in the same dugout as him during some big league spring training games. And we've talked about approach a lot. And I've always wondered how common this is, but I'll always remember one time he told me there's times in the first at bat of a game with less than 2 strikes, I'll swing like an idiot at a slider and look awful on it to set up that later in the game. I know if I look bad on it early, when the game matters, when something's big, I know I'll get it again and then I'll do damage. Is that like a common thing? Have you done that?
So to me, when I hear that, and I don't, Miguel's one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. It's almost like he also, I'll say this, and I'd love to hear his thoughts on this. It's hitters want to know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And if you swing and miss, no one wants to swing and miss, but that ugly swing and miss guarantees a future slider. From his perspective, he can feel confident that he's going to see that pitch, and that confidence, I think, gives him something. Yeah. And that he has a target. Oftentimes we have not strong targets. So like he'll have a target on something. So that confidence, having a target on something, and then, I don't know, that feeling of control is so important sometimes. And he may not, I don't know if there's obviously no like little mini studies on something like that, but like that he feels like the ball's coming. Like I know that feeling. It's less about the upcoming moment, mm-hmm. and more about I believe that I'm going to get something. He may mean every 100% of what he said as far as like I prefer to have to dump a pitch early to be able to get it later in the game. And I may be misinterpreting what he's saying or over analyzing it, but like I like the feeling of knowing and feeling like I'm in control. And the worst at bats are the ones where you step out, you get in, you step out, you get back in the box, and you're like, what is coming? Like, it's why I can't stand rehab stints. It's why I don't like facing, you know, unknowns in spring training because I don't know what's coming.
Dude, Justin
And
says this all the time. The worst thing is going down to the minor leagues and nobody knows how to play baseball. They're all swinging out of their ass the first pitch of the at bat, and pitchers don't know what to throw. He hates it.
yeah, no, it's having a target, having objectives is helpful for some guys. So I'm not. It's interesting hearing that from Miguel, who's a fantastic hitter.
Yeah,
still,
he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and so are you as well. So I've always wanted to ask you about your bats because you're one of the only guys left that nobody swings ash anymore, really. And the reason for that is interesting. And I started hearing about this when I was playing as well. Actually, ash kind of like died in America. There was some beetle. It got into all the ash. Ash died, and it has gone out of the game of baseball. Maybe that's why I lost all of my pop, because I swung an ash bat. Who knows? So you still, at least up to this year, swung it and apparently bought out all of Marucci's ash bats. Why ash? Why have you been so dedicated to it? And even throughout this whole thing that's happening with them, have you wanted to continue to use it?
It's just feel. You're used to Tool, and I've been doing this for a bit now, and I purchased a bunch of bats and I've kind of tucked them away, but yeah, just feel. Yeah. So you ask a golfer why they like a specific putter when there's so many nicer, newer options. So, or a painter, why they like particular brushes when there's nicer, newer options, or, so no, it's just feel. Yeah.
So that is, you just heard about this and bought up all the rest of Marucci's stockpile and put them somewhere?
I don't think it's entirely true about there being no ash. So you'd have to ask someone else. No, seriously. I mean, you'd have to ask somebody that's in the know, but I don't think that's true.
So you guys, as in the Reds, are coming up and playing in the Field of Dreams game, which is really cool, I think. First off, have you seen the movie?
Yes, I've seen the movie too many times.
So I learned. Go ahead.
Yes.
I learned this last year not to just assume, because a lot of the White Sox guys hadn't seen it. I'm like, how have you not seen Field of Dreams? So I just wanted to make sure you have seen it.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch it last year? Are you pumped to be a part of it this year? It's a really cool thing.
Watching baseball games to me is, I don't want to say stressful. I'd say more, I'm not in the place in my life where I get to really enjoy a baseball game. So I don't just tune in for baseball's sake. I may watch a particular matchup, or if I want to watch a particular hitter or a particular pitcher. But I just don't watch a lot of baseball in my free time. I feel the need to get away. So I didn't watch it, but I saw the highlights and I saw the intrigue, and it made me happy that there was so much interest and it was so well done. And that's what baseball is all about, entertaining and giving the fans what they want. And I look forward to this year's. I'm very much looking forward to playing at that field and taking in the experience. And the movie is a significant movie for me. I mean, my father and I played catch together, similar to the essentially the core of the movie. Yeah. My father passed away almost 14 years ago. So there's that parallel. And we had maybe 10, 20 VHS movies and a bunch of Disney movies on VHS. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the few movies I watched pretty consistently. It'd be like, Field of Dreams and Top Gun and whatever. And we'd watch that, pretty consistently. So I know the movie very well. And so.
It is, without fail, every time I watch it, I cry. I'm a softie. I get emotional about things. I watch it. The father and son play catch on the field, and I just lose it.
Yeah.
So that is coming up. I'll see you there. I'm pumped to watch you play in that.
Oh, looking forward to it. Good.
Yep, I'll be out there. And then shortly after that, well, not shortly after, in the off season, right before next year. I don't know if you've announced, but you have played in it before. The World Baseball Classic is this year. Are you playing in it again this year?
I don't know yet, but I think there's a pretty good chance I will. Yeah, I'll have to look at the roster, and not so much the roster. I just need to just look at the. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm busy trying to get hits now.
Just trying to get knocks.
Seriously.
How much fun have you had playing in those in the past? I mean, it looks awesome.
I had a good time. I just wanted to. I was most excited about moving in deeper into the tournament, and we've been knocked out a couple times. I played for Canada in 2009, I believe, in 2013, and then I passed on 17, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to be a part of a winning team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I it's a really interesting tournament because there's so many different cities. You know, there's obviously, you know, the American cities, and then the Asian cities. So you know, it really excites me seeing the fans and seeing the reactions in those particular in all the different cities. So I get excited about that. I don't know where this tournament is being held. I if I'm not mistaken, there's Tokyo and then Arizona and Miami. Is there a Korean city?
Yeah, Korea.
What city? Seoul?
I don't think it's Seoul. I don't know off the top of my head. I saw it recently, but I do not believe it's Seoul.
Yeah.
So there's
yeah.
Korea,
Sorry,
there's Tokyo.
I don't mean to say only Seoul. You know, there's yeah. And then beyond that, where do they go after that?
So then in America, it's Arizona and Miami, and then the last few rounds take place in Miami. That's where the championship, the quarters, and all.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, we're playing there right now. I really like this stadium, so that's good.
So I got a few fun questions for you to finish up, and that kind of leads well into this. You like that stadium. In your career, where is your favorite place to go visit and to play?
I always answer I don't have a favorite, and not because I'm trying to be general, because the major leagues, they do such a good job making the fan experience special. And every stadium, you know, how can I say that I love Dodger Stadium, but I also like the Giants Stadium. I've had great times at the Toronto's Rogers Center, but then also I love our home ballpark. You know, it's you know, what we play inside of a division with some of the most beautiful, you know, Wrigley Field is so pretty and so historic. It just came from Fenway, but then we get to go to Pittsburgh. That is one of the most beautiful skylines, and it's a fun stadium to play at. And then the Cardinals Stadium is just so pretty also. I don't want to say I have a favorite, because I don't have a favorite. I'd be dishonest if I said that there was a, you know, a best option to go to. You know, it's a very cool league, and each stadium has their own personality. We get taken care of really well behind the scenes. Yeah, there's just too many to name. So yeah.
So you mentioned the Cardinal Stadium. You've played there a million times in your career. They're in the same division, meaning for the majority of your career, you've gotten to play a lot of games against Albert Pujols. So you play first base. You've obviously run into each other a bunch. I want to know your best Albert Pujols story.
So Albert was in his prime heyday, Albert, where he was winning most valuable players, and he was the best player in the sport at the time. And so we're in St. Louis, and it was the first time I'd been called up. No. It was my first full rookie season.
Okay.
And I believe Albert won the most valuable player that year in 08. And so I'm at first base, and Albert's hitting, and he hits a double down the left field line. And they had, I believe, clinched the playoff spot, and they were, you know, going to the playoffs, and they were a strong club. And he gets to second base, and Tony La Russa, who's a Hall of Fame manager, calls him in. It was the fifth inning, I believe. Calls him in, and it, allows the mutual respect between the player and the crowd to be at the forefront, and so he goes in the dugout. There's a standing ovation. He comes out, and I just remember him coming out, facing the crowd on the top step or even onto the dirt, taking his hat off and looking at like the crowd and how like the entire stadium was giving him an ovation. He was standing there. So I was watching one of the greatest players of all time. His stat line, which was like 359, 36, and like 136. I'm at first base. Like I have the best view of this, portrait. And I remember thinking to myself, like, there's a moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't do that. Like, I don't think I can do that. I don't know if I'll ever be that. But then there's another part that's like, I want that. And so I'm watching him and he goes back in the dugout. I just remember feeling to myself, like, this is a special moment. This is very distinct. This is not going to happen a lot in your career. And it's true. It hasn't happened. I don't know if it's ever happened. I mean, I remember Manny Ramirez hitting a grand slam on Manny Ramirez bobblehead day, and he was pinch hit, first pitch. It was like he came out. I remember that being a pretty poignant moment. But Albert in St. Louis was very, very distinct. And yeah, it's funny. It was a really cool moment.
Do you have an ability? I feel like I've tried to do this in my life. Do you have an ability, and it sounds like you do, to like realize you're in a moment while it's happening and appreciate it?
Maybe. I don't think I have an ability any better than anybody else, but that was a pretty distinct moment where, I read about Albert. I watched his hitting film. I admired the best player in the game. How could you not? He played at my position.
Yeah.
And I got to see him at his peak in front of a peak crowd in a peak moment. It was just, you knew that he won the most valuable player. You knew he was the best player in the game. You knew he just completed another fantastic season. Yeah. It may have been in 2009. I don't remember, but yeah. So he was a pretty fantastic player. Still is, but that was his prime.
In your career, 16 years now, a lot of All-Star games, MVP award. Who has been your toughest pitcher to face? Who's the toughest guy you've had to hit off of?
CC Sabathia was tough, really tough. He's a big man, mm-hmm. and he threw really hard at the time, like clearly harder than any left-handers I was facing. Most left-handers were like 87 to 92. Mm-hmm. He would pitch 94 to 98. A little wild, big curveball, big slider. Like felt like a crossover, felt like he was on you, felt like he was throwing behind you. He'd hit you. Big man. It's not like he didn't care. Strike you out. Just a dominant pitcher. And he was mostly intimidating because of how distinct his stuff was relative to other left-handers and how the way his body moved coming towards you. It was just a tough at bat because it was so different. So I faced him in Cleveland and I hit a couple balls hard, maybe even just one ball hard. I don't remember. But then I faced him in Milwaukee. It's funny. So Dusty Baker asked me on September 9th, hey, I think I'm going to give you a day off tomorrow. CC's pitching. And I go, no, I want to face him. And he's like, that's your birthday tomorrow, like chill, enjoy your birthday. And I'm like, no, I want to face him. Ugh. And he starts me and there were shadows. Like Milwaukee can be rough when the shadows are, when it's a day game and the sun hits the glass, and then it's very tough. So I couldn't see him. Mm-hmm. And he struck me out 4 times. and I remember thinking, I never think I wish I'd taken the day off, but I was like, oh man, that birthday sucked.
That's great. So Joey, before I let you go, first off, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun, but I want to ask you, like, if you had a piece of advice or words of wisdom for people growing up playing the game, what would it be? What would your piece of advice be?
So I know I said I played with a lot of anger, but I also practiced with a lot of joy. Practice has always been easy for me. I've always gone to the park early. I remember in the minor leagues, I hit on I'd show up to the park at 11, 12 o'clock and hit by myself, if I needed more work or something. And it was never work. Everything, my entire life has been built around baseball, but it's never felt like work. And I probably swing too much or take too many reps. It's something I've been working on, but it's never felt like work. And so to me, I think advice would be lean into that. If you're a fortunate person that really loves this and really enjoys it, then lean into that. And the younger you are, the more gas you have in the tank, the more time you have, the easier it is to recover, the more you can mold yourself into what you want to be, and lean into that and enjoy it. It's a craft. It's something that if you get the opportunity to do it your very best and give it your all, because you only get one window of time to try. And I feel that way. This is my 20th, maybe even 21st professional season, 16th major league season, and every day is built around baseball, and I feel great joy from that. I'm thankful for that. But I know we're speaking right now, but in the back of my head, all I can think about is that first at bat today, or the practice work, or how I want to make sure that I refine my style to make sure that it's repeatable each and every day. I want to perform well. I want to perform in a Reds uniform. So I feel grateful. So yeah, that's my advice.
Well, that's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that. And thank you so much for joining me, man. This has been so much fun, a really good conversation. You're a Hall of Famer on the field, in my opinion, but a Hall of Famer off of it as well. And I don't say that lightly. So thank you so much for joining me. You're a friend of the pod forever. And I appreciate it a lot, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. See ya.
See you.
All right. I just wanted to thank Joey Votto again for joining me. Man, that was awesome. That was one of my favorite conversations I've had here on this show. He is an incredible human, and to peel back the layers a little bit, to get inside his head, to hear about his approach, the mental game, his journey to the big leagues, that was really, really cool for me, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. This was an absolute blast. Again, Joey Votto, thank you for joining me. So that does it for another episode of Flippin' Bats. This one has been a lot of fun. Make sure you like, subscribe anywhere you're listening to your podcast. Flippin' Bats Pod, Apple, Spotify, Google, all of that good stuff. We're also on all social media. So is Joey Votto. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can watch every episode as well on YouTube at Flippin' Bats Pod for all of them. I hope you all enjoyed this one. This has been a blast, and I will see you next time for another episode of Flippin' Bats. Peace.